Commander Zextal's primary heart skipped a beat as he studied the holographic display before him. His secondary heart wasn't faring much better. The scans from Earth's orbital space showed patterns that defied everything he'd learned in 3 centuries of military service. "Tactical officer, replay that last sequence," he ordered, his upper eyes fixed on the primary display, while his lower set scanned the incoming data streams. The hologram flickered, showing a squadron of small Earth vessels executing a series of maneuvers that should have been impossible for a pre-FTL civilization. At their head was a craft designated KR 117, its movements almost dancing through the debris field near one of Earth's primitive space stations. "Pilot identification?" Zextal asked, though he already dreaded the answer. Pilot of KR 117 identified as Lieutenant Kate Reynolds, his officer reported. Earth age, 17 standard years. Zextal's skin rippled in disbelief, a gesture that sent his command staff into nervous shuffling. 17. Confirm that data. Confirmed, Commander. And she's not an outlier. Average age of current active pilots in Earth's orbital space is 19 standard years, some as young as 15. The commander leaned back in his gravity cradle, all 4 eyes now fixed on the display. He watched as Lieutenant Reynolds led her squadron through another series of tight formations. Their movements were precise, coordinated, almost playful. "Sir," his communications officer interrupted, "we're picking up their transmission frequencies. Most match their known entertainment bands." Of course they did. The hegemony's intelligence reports had been clear about this peculiar human habit. Their obsession with gaming. Even their military training was conducted through these entertainment systems. It was one of the many reasons the Hegemony Council had designated Earth as an easy target for expansion. "Pull up the pilot's profile," Zextal ordered. The hologram shifted, displaying Kate Reynolds' public data. 5-time champion of something called the Ultra Fleet Combat League. Over 10,000 hours in simulation. Current holder of 37 speed run records. None of it made sense to him. "Sir," his tactical officer's voice had an edge of concern. "Reynolds' squadron just completed another run through the debris field. Their efficiency rating. It's higher than our elite units." "Impossible." Zextal dismissed the notion. "They're playing games. This is entertainment for them. Nothing more." But even as he said it, his military training screamed otherwise. He watched as Reynolds' squadron split into perfect attack formation, then merged back together through a series of synchronized rolls that would have made his best pilots envious. "Commander," his science officer interjected, "I've been analyzing their training programs. These games, as they call them, the physics engines they use, they're perfect replications of real space combat conditions. Every simulation, every game they play. They've been training, whether they knew it or not." Zextal felt a chill run through his combat membrane. He watched as another squadron joined Reynolds, their formations interlocking with practiced ease. Their command channel was filled with incomprehensible jargon. Spawn points, lag compensation, tick rate. But their movements spoke a language any military commander could understand. These weren't children playing at war. These were warriors who had trained since childhood through play. "Sir," his strategic officer's voice was quiet. "Should we reconsider the invasion timeline?" Zextal's primary heart had settled into a steady, determined rhythm. "No, the Council's orders are clear. Earth's resources are too valuable, and their system too strategically important. Begin the preparations for First Contact Protocol." He watched as Lieutenant Kate Reynolds led her squadron through one final, elegant maneuver. "But," he added, "update our tactical protocols. These humans, they're not what we expected. And those aren't games, they're playing up there." Little did Zextal know, as he gave the order that would begin the invasion, that he was about to learn just how wrong The hegemony's assessment of Earth had been, and Kate Reynolds, currently laughing with her squadron about their latest high score, was about to show the galaxy why you should never underestimate a gamer with real ships to play with. The hegemony's first contact display was meant to inspire awe and immediate submission. 1,000 warships materialized in perfect formation, their hull plating shifting colors in a choreographed dance of technological superiority. It had worked on 17 other civilizations. Major Jake Sullivan watched the display from Earth's primary defense station and smiled. "That's some quality ray tracing," he muttered, then keyed his global command channel. "Gamers of Earth, this is not a drill. I repeat, this is not a drill. The event we've been training for is now live." Across Earth's orbital defense grid, thousands of young pilots snapped to attention. Many were still wearing their gaming headsets, energy drinks close at hand. 16-year-old Mitch Cooper, strapped into his fighter's command pod, grinned as he adjusted his lucky gaming glasses. "Hey, Kate," he called over the squadron channel. "These graphics are way better than Ultra Fleet Simulator 2040. Lieutenant Reynolds' laugh crackled through the comm. "And the lag is actually decent for once. Okay, Thunder Squadron, remember the tournament finals last month? Same strat, but this time it's for real." Commander Zextal watched with growing confusion as Earth's defense forces began to move. Instead of panic or chaos, he was witnessing something unprecedented. The human vessels were organizing with the precision of a combat simulator's opening sequence. "Sir," his tactical officer's voice wavered. They're forming up in attack patterns we've never seen before." "Impossible," Zextal dismissed. "Their military database shows no record of such tactics." "That's because you're looking in the wrong database." Mitch Cooper's voice suddenly filled the hegemony's command channel. "Check our eSports servers instead." Before Zextal could process this breach of their communications, Cooper's squadron shot through a gap in the hegemony formation that shouldn't have existed. 17 ships rolled in perfect synchronization, their energy signatures dancing like players in a well-practiced raid group. "Boss fight. Phase 1. Cooper called out. "Remember, these guys are totally pay to win. All fancy tech, no skill." Zextal's secondary heart nearly stopped as he watched his perfect formation shatter. These children were flying combat patterns that defied traditional space combat doctrine. They moved like they'd done this 1,000 times before. Because they had. "Sir," his intelligence officer shouted, "I found something. These patterns, they're from their combat games. Years of tournament footage. They've been practicing this exact scenario." On the main display, Kate Reynolds' voice cut through the chaos. "All units, they're running standard NPC patterns, just like the level 9 AI in the simulator. Call your targets." The space around Earth erupted with activity as thousands of young pilots moved with the coordinated grace of veteran gamers. Their combat chatter was filled with terms that made no sense to the hegemony's translator arrays. Watch the spawn camping on the L2 point. Anyone got aggro on the big one? Kite them toward the debris field. Perfect AoE zone. Zextal watched in horror as his fleet's sophisticated combat AI failed to predict movements that no sane military would attempt. These humans weren't fighting according to any known combat doctrine. They were playing, and playing to win. "Commander," his second-in-command whispered, "these aren't military tactics we're seeing. This is something else." "No," Zextal agreed, finally understanding. "This is every game they've ever played, every tournament they've ever won, every simulation they thought was just entertainment." As if to punctuate his realization, Mitch Cooper's squadron pulled off a maneuver that had won him the global championships last year. 3 hegemony cruisers fell into a debris field, their formations broken by an attack pattern born in a teenager's gaming room. "First boss down," Cooper's cheer echoed through the command channel. Anyone want to try for the speed run achievement? Zextal realized, with growing dread, that the hegemony had made a terrible mistake. They hadn't found a pre-FTL civilization playing at war. They'd found a planet full of expert pilots who thought this was the ultimate game. Ashley Martinez hadn't told her parents about the invasion yet. They were still under the impression she was competing in the semifinals of the Interplanetary Combat League. In a way, she supposed she was. This was just the ultimate tournament. "Delta Wing, form up on my 6, she called out, her fingers dancing across the neural interface with the same precision that had won her 3 world championships. They're about to use their ultimate. Commander Zextal's voice boomed across all frequencies. Attention, human forces. You will witness the true power of the hegemony. Initiate the Sunbreaker Protocol. Ashley rolled her eyes. Called it. Such a predictable boss mechanic. The massive hegemony dreadnought at the center of their formation began to glow, its hull splitting apart to reveal what the intelligence cores would later identify as a solar mass weapon. It was the pride of the hegemony fleet, capable of devastating entire battle groups with artificial solar flares. No military force had ever survived its deployment. But Ashley Martinez hadn't spent 12,000 hours in simulators just to fail at the first superweapon. Remember the Arcturus tournament last year? She broadcast to her wing. Same energy signature as the final boss. Standard NO mechanics. Telegraph. Charge. Release. Kate Reynolds' voice crackled through the comm. You're right. That's a classic 3-phase attack pattern, just like in Ultra Fleet. The Sunbreaker's charging sequence reached 80%, its light nearly blinding. Zextal allowed himself a moment of satisfaction. These gaming children were about to learn the difference between entertainment and real war. Now, Ashley shouted, interrupt Phase 2. What happened next would be studied in both human and hegemony military academies for centuries. 50 small fighters, led by a 19-year-old esports champion, executed a maneuver that had only ever been theoretical, until someone had coded it into a game 3 years ago. The fighters moving in perfect sync, creating a resonance pattern that the game developers had added because it looked cool. But those same developers had accidentally stumbled upon a real physics phenomena that the hegemony had never considered. Sir, Zextal's science officer's voice was trembling. They're using the quantum feedback loop, the one our scientists said was impossible to coordinate in real combat. How? Zextal demanded, watching as the Sunbreaker's charge sequence began to destabilize. Because, the officer whispered, they've practiced it, thousands of times, in their games. Ashley's voice cut through the command channel again. Tank squad, hold aggro. DPS wings, focus fire on the weak points, just like we practiced. The hegemony crew watched in horror as their ultimate weapon was systematically dismantled by tactics born in late-night gaming sessions. The humans weren't just surviving. They were speed-running the encounter. Sir, Zextal's tactical officer reported, we're detecting similar coordination from all Earth defense sectors. They're sharing tactical data through something called Stream Chat. On her command screen, Ashley pulled up the global gamer feed. Thousands of messages scrolled past. Players sharing boss patterns, optimal approach vectors, and counter strategies, all in a language that had evolved through years of competitive gaming. Pod counterplay on that super. Anyone got the weak point coordinates? Need for my raid group. First try. No wipe. Let's go. The Sunbreaker Protocol failed spectacularly, its energy dispersing harmlessly into space. Ashley's squadron had just made what gamers would call a perfect run. Update your guides, everyone. She broadcast with a grin. Found the skip for this boss fight. Commander Zextal stared at the tactical display, his 4 eyes unable to process what he was seeing. These weren't just random players anymore. These were professional gamers treating the invasion of Earth like the biggest tournament of their lives. And they were winning. "Commander," his strategic officer spoke quietly, "I think we need to consider the possibility that their gaming industry was never just an industry." Zextal finished. "It was the most advanced combat training program in the galaxy, and we just challenged their top players to a match." Tommy Deathbringer Wilson was streaming the alien invasion. He couldn't help himself. 5 years of building his channel had made it second nature. His neural interface was broadcasting every maneuver, every tactical call, to over 20 million viewers worldwide. "What's up, stream?" he called out as his squadron dove through the wreckage of a hegemony cruiser. "Today we're going to break down the alien meta and show you some serious counterplay. Don't forget to like and subscribe." Commander Zextal watched the human broadcasting channels with growing horror. Not only were these children fighting his fleet, they were teaching others how to do it in real time. "Sir," his intelligence officer reported, "the human known as Deathbringer has just released what they call a tutorial video on exploiting our shield harmonics." "A what?" Zextal demanded. "Okay, chat." Tommy's voice echoed through the captured transmission. "Watch this closely. The hegemony ships have the same shield frequency pattern as the level 9 bosses in Ultra Fleet. Remember that speed-running trick we found last month? Watch this." His squadron of 5 ships executed a series of precise movements that made Zextal's combat computer scream in protest. The maneuver should have been impossible. It violated 3 different laws of combat physics. But the games had taught them otherwise. "See that, everyone?" Tommy continued his commentary as his squadron slipped through a shield gap that shouldn't have existed. "They're using predictable NPC patterns. Once you learn the timing, it's just like frame-perfect dodging in classic games." Kate Reynolds' voice cut in. "Tommy, are you seriously streaming this?" "Can't help it, Kate. Chat's going wild with strat suggestions. Besides, my subscribers have been waiting for real-world application videos." The space around Earth had become a chaotic dance of small human ships, weaving through the hegemony's once perfect formations. Every failed tactic by the alien fleet was instantly analyzed, countered, and shared across global gaming networks. "Commander," Zextal's tactical officer spoke with disbelief. They're making tutorial videos about us. Their combat analysis is spreading faster than we can adapt our strategies." Tommy's squadron had now linked up with Ashley's group, their combined forces moving with the synchronization of a well-practiced raid party. "Okay, stream, here's an advanced tactic. Remember the physics bug we found in Space Combat Simulator 2039? Turns out it wasn't a bug. Watch this." The human ships began a complex dance around a hegemony destroyer, creating interference patterns that the ship's targeting computer couldn't process. It was like watching a tool-assisted speedrun, executed in real space. Frame-perfect execution. Tommy cheered as the destroyer's systems crashed. "That's why you practice your APM, chat." Zextal's bridge crew watched in stunned silence as their combat doctrine, perfected over centuries, was being dissected and countered by teenagers with gaming channels. "Sir," his second-in-command ventured, "perhaps we should consider that their entertainment industry has been inadvertently training them to exploit every weakness in standard combat protocols." Zextal finished. "By turning warfare into a game, they've created warriors who think in ways we never imagined." Tommy's voice crackled through again. "Don't forget to join my Discord for advanced alien counter strategies. We'll be breaking down the frame data on their capital ships tonight." The tactical display showed hundreds of human squadrons, now moving with the same precision, all of them having learned from watching their fellow gamers break down the hegemony's patterns like they were analyzing a new game meta. One more thing, chat, Tommy added as his squadron lined up another impossible maneuver. Notice how their ships always turn at the same rate. Classic developer oversight. Time to show them why we call it exploit speedrunning. Commander Zextol realized that the hegemony had made a critical error in their initial assessment. They hadn't found a primitive military force playing with spacecraft. They'd found an entire generation that had turned combat analysis into entertainment, and they were about to learn why you never underestimate a dedicated gaming community with new content to master. Captain Amanda Speed Queen Foster had made her name breaking games. In the speedrunning community, she was legendary for finding exploits that developers never imagined. Now, as she studied the hegemony's battle formations through her neural interface, she saw patterns that made her grin. They're totally camping the L2 point, she broadcast to the global command channel. Classic rookie strat. Hey Tommy, remember that clipping glitch from the beta? The one that got patched. Tommy's voice crackled back. No way that works in real space. Watch me. Amanda's squadron shot forward, their formation seemingly random to the hegemony's tactical computer. But to any speedrunner, the pattern was clear. They were setting up a frame-perfect sequence. Commander Zextol watched with growing confusion as the human ships began what appeared to be a suicide run. Prepare point defense arrays, he ordered. No one could survive that approach vector. Sir, his tactical officer's voice wavered. You might want to see this. The human ships had done something. One moment, they were charging the hegemony's strongest defense point. The next, they had somehow slipped through a dimensional fold that shouldn't have been possible. How? Zextol demanded. Our engineers said that kind of spatial manipulation was theoretical. Amanda's laugh filled the command channel. First try. That's going in the highlight reel. Kate, did you clip that? Lieutenant Reynolds' voice joined in. Already uploaded to the tactical database. Whole fleet's gonna be speed running that route by tomorrow. The hegemony's formations were breaking down as more human squadrons began replicating the maneuver. What had taken speedrunners years to perfect in games was being adapted to real space combat in hours. Sir, Zextol's science officer reported, their neural networks are. They're sharing tactical data through something called Twitch clips. The entire human fleet is learning these exploits almost instantly. Amanda's squadron had now linked up with both Tommy's streamers and Ashley's pro team. The combined force moved like a tool-assisted speedrun come to life. Okay, everyone, Amanda called out. This is just like the world record pace for Ultra Fleet. We've got the skip, we've got the clip. Now let's show them why Earth's gaming community is undefeated. The space around the L2 point erupted in chaos as human ships began executing maneuvers that violated everything the hegemony knew about space combat. They weren't just fighting. They were finding and exploiting every hidden flaw in the aliens' perfect systems. Commander, Zextol's strategic officer spoke quietly. They're not just beating us. They're optimizing the battle, like it's some kind of game to be solved. On her command screen, Amanda pulled up the global speedrunning leaderboard that had spontaneously emerged. Squadrons were competing for fastest clear times on different hegemony ship classes. The entire invasion had been transformed into a massive speedrunning event. New route found. She broadcast. Check the Discord for frame-perfect timing. We can shave another 30 seconds off the capital ship clear time. Zextol watched in horror as his fleet's carefully planned formations were being dismantled by humans using techniques that seemed to ignore the basic laws of physics. But to Amanda and her fellow speedrunners, they were simply finding the edge cases in reality's code. Final split coming up, Amanda called out as her squadron lined up for another impossible maneuver. Ready for the no-clip strat. The hegemony's combat computers couldn't track what happened next. One moment their defensive line was intact. The next, it had been completely bypassed by ships moving through space in ways that would make Einstein cry. World record pace. Tommy's voice cheered through the comms. The alien skip is now official meta. Commander Zextal finally understood the true horror of what they'd encountered. Earth's gamers hadn't just learned combat through play. They'd learned to break the very rules of combat itself. And now, they were speedrunning the invasion. Ryan King O'Connor had never been the best at combat games. His thing was puzzle games, particularly the really obscure ones that required breaking complex codes. He'd set world records in games like Quantum Cryptographer and Neural Maze Master. Now, as he sat in his command pod, those skills were about to change the course of the battle. "Hey guys," he called over the command channel. "You know how the hegemony ship communications look like random noise. It's actually using the same base algorithm as level 84 of Crypto Challenge 2039. Commander Zextal's bridge fell silent as their unbreakable combat communications suddenly began broadcasting in clear human standard. "Impossible," his communications officer whispered. That encryption was based on quantum level. "Found the pattern." Ryan's voice cut through their own command channel. "It's just like those hidden developer messages in the game. Once you know the key, it's pretty much a basic substitution cipher." Meanwhile, Jessica Star Queen Thompson, a veteran guild leader from Stellar Conquest Online, had taken command of the entire Northern Defense Fleet. She was coordinating hundreds of squadrons using tactics learned from years of managing multi-guild raid events. "Group 2, you're running the wrong build for this encounter," she called out. "Switch to Formation Delta. It's like the Celestial Dragon fight in SCO. Trust me on this." Zextal watched in growing horror as his fleet's carefully planned attack patterns were being countered before they even executed them. The humans weren't just reacting. They were predicting. "Sir," his tactical officer reported, "that human, O'Connor, he's not just decoding our communications. He's treating our entire battle strategy like some sort of logic puzzle." On his screen, Ryan was indeed breaking down the hegemony's military doctrine like it was just another game to be solved. "See, their attack patterns follow the same logic as those old tower defense games. Once you map out the decision trees, it's super predictable." Jessica's voice added to the analysis. "Exactly. It's just like an MMO boss fight. They got a limited move set they cycle through." "Amanda, remember that raid guide format we used for the Galaxy Emperor event?" "Already on it," Amanda replied. "Setting up a shared document now. Ryan, can you add those pattern recognition flowcharts?" The hegemony's bridge crew watched in stunned silence as their combat doctrine, the product of millennia of military evolution, was being documented and dissected like a video game strategy guide. "Look at this," Ryan called out excitedly. "Their emergency protocols are using a Fibonacci sequence for command authorization. That's literally a puzzle from Chapter 3 of Codemaster Elite." Commander Zextal's secondary heart nearly stopped as he realized what was happening. These humans weren't just fighting his forces. They were solving them. "Okay, everyone," Jessica broadcasted, "I'm seeing 3 distinct phase patterns in their fleet movement. Standard MO mechanics. They're going to rotate through them in order. Time your cooldowns accordingly." The space around Earth had become a vast proving ground where gaming skills from every genre were being applied to real combat. Puzzle solvers were breaking enemy codes, strategy gamers were predicting fleet movements, and MNO raiders were coordinating counterattacks with the precision of a world-first guild. "Sir," Zextal's strategic officer spoke with a note of defeat, "they're not just using combat games against us. Every game they've ever played, every puzzle they've ever solved, has prepared them for this," Zextal finished. "Their entire gaming culture was accidentally creating perfect warriors." As if to prove his point, Ryan's voice echoed through their command channel one last time. Hey, just decoded their retreat protocols too. Want me to share the solution? It's actually a pretty elegant puzzle once you see the pattern. The hegemony had come expecting a simple military engagement. Instead, they'd found a civilization that had turned every aspect of combat into a game to be mastered, a puzzle to be solved, and a challenge to be overcome. And Earth's gamers were just getting started. Tyler Ace High Anderson had been grounded 3 times last year for excessive gaming. His parents couldn't understand why he spent so many hours in combat simulators. Now, as he led the pursuit of the retreating hegemony forces, those hours were paying off in ways no one could have predicted. They're using the standard retreat pattern from the tournament build. He called out to his squadron, "Remember how we used to spawn camp, the final boss in Ultra Fleet Championships? Same principle." Commander Zextel's fleet was in disarray. Their attempted strategic withdrawal had somehow turned into what the humans were calling a speed run challenge. "Sir," his navigation officer reported, "every retreat vector we calculate. They're already there waiting for us. It's like they know our protocols better than we do." "Of course they do," Zextel replied wearily. "They've been practicing this exact scenario for years. They just didn't know it." Kate Reynolds' voice cut through the chaos. "Tyler's right. Check your archives for the Ultra Fleet Global Finals from last year. Round 7, when the champion team trapped the opposition in the Nebula grid." Ashley Martinez chimed in, already pulling up the footage. "Amanda, can you set up the same containment pattern we used in the tournament?" On it, Amanda's squadron was already moving into position. "Tommy, keep streaming this. It's going to be a perfect segment for the speedrunning history books." The remaining hegemony ships found themselves caught in a rapidly closing net of human vessels. Every escape route was being cut off by pilots who had spent countless hours learning how to trap and contain virtual opponents. "Look at their formation," Tyler broadcasted excitedly. "It's just like that glitched boss fight, where the AI gets stuck in a loop." "Ryan, remember the pattern." "Already breaking it down," Ryan replied. "Their emergency protocols are following the same logic tree. Give me 2 minutes to map out their possible moves." Jessica Thompson's voice added to the tactical discussion. "Confirmed. They're running standard cornered boss patterns. Call your positions like we did in the Guild Wars." Commander Zextel watched his tactical display with a growing sense of dread. His fleet, the pride of the hegemony, was being herded like cattle by teenagers using gaming strategies. "Sir," his second-in-command ventured, "perhaps we should consider an unconditional." "Don't say it," Zextel cut him off. "Just don't." But it was too late. Tyler's voice filled their command channel. "Hey alien dudes, want to save some time? There's a surrender option in the menu. Just saying." The space around the retreating fleet had become a complex dance of human ships, moving with the precision of tournament champions. Every attempt at escape was met with counters that had been perfected in countless virtual competitions. "New personal best," Tommy called out as his stream count hit record numbers. Chat's going crazy over these strats. Amanda's voice added to the commentary. "This is definitely going in the tool-assisted category. The frame-perfect timing on that last interception was insane." Tyler coordinated the final movements, his squadron leading the containment pattern. "Just like practice. Everyone. Remember, no reset button this time. So make it count." The hegemony fleet found itself boxed in by maneuvers that defied traditional space combat logic, but made perfect sense to anyone who had ever trapped a boss in a corner for an easy kill. "Commander," Zextel's tactical officer spoke softly, "they're not just defeating us. They're going for a perfect score." Tyler's final transmission confirmed the officer's assessment. "GGEZ. Anyone want to try for the no-damage achievement while we're here?" The hegemony had come expecting to conquer a pre-FTL civilization. Instead, they found themselves serving as the final boss in humanity's greatest gaming tournament, and Earth's champions were about to set an unbeatable record. The global victory celebration was being streamed live on every gaming platform. Emma Stardancer Mitchell, age 16, stood before the United Earth Council, her gaming headset still perched atop her head as she accepted the first Interstellar Defense Medal. "So," the council president asked, "how does it feel to have led the squadron that captured the hegemony's command vessel?" Emma adjusted her headset with the casual grace of a veteran streamer. "Honestly, the hit registration was way better than in the simulators. Plus, no lag." The audience of gamers erupted in laughter and applause. Commander Zextal, now a prisoner of war, watched the ceremony from his containment cell. The humans had even made their victory celebration into content for their entertainment channels. And here he is, chat. Tommy's voice echoed through the cell's speakers, the final boss himself. Don't forget to like and subscribe for more alien invasion content. The fallen commander found himself the subject of what humans called a post-game analysis stream, with Tommy Deathbringer Wilson breaking down every failed strategy for his 20 million subscribers. "Notice the predictable attack patterns," Tommy was saying. "Classic NPC behavior. The hegemony really needs to update their combat meta." Meanwhile, in the council chamber, Kate Reynolds was presenting the complete tactical analysis, which had been compiled in the format of a gaming wiki. "As you can see," she explained, pulling up a detailed flowchart, "their entire military doctrine can be broken down into basic game theory. Ryan's already published a complete speedrunning guide." Ryan Sifferking O'Connor's guide had indeed gone viral, with the title "Breaking the Hegemony, Any Percent Glitchless Route," world record strats included. Amanda Speed Queen Foster added her commentary. "The real breakthrough came when we realized their whole command structure was basically just a really complex puzzle game." Jessica Thompson was already organizing the defense force into what she called raid teams, using MMO guild structure to create the most efficient military organization in human history. "The beauty of it," she explained to the council, "is that we already have a global ranking system through the gaming leagues. We can identify and deploy top talent instantly." Ashley Martinez, fresh from a victory interview on Pro Gamers Weekly, summarized what everyone was thinking. "Turns out all those hours in-game weren't wasted after all, Mom." The council president stood to address the assembly. In light of these events, the United Earth Council has decided to officially designate gaming as a critical defense industry. All major gaming companies are now part of the Earth Defense Initiative. Mitch Cooper's voice called out from the audience. "Does this mean we can write off our gaming rigs as military equipment?" The laughter that followed was interrupted by Tyler Anderson's urgent call. "Heads up, everyone. Long-range sensors are picking up another hegemony fleet. Looks like they're here for round 2. Emma's face lit up with the same expression she'd worn during countless tournament finals. "Perfect. I was worried we'd run out of content. Ready for New Game Plus, everyone." The young pilots rushed to their stations, gaming headsets in place, energy drinks at the ready. The global gaming networks lit up with activity as strategies were shared and teams were formed. Commander Zextal's final report to the Hegemony Council was brief. "Do not attempt further military action against Earth. They have turned warfare into a game, and they never lose at games." As the second hegemony fleet appeared at the edge of the solar system, Earth's defense force was ready. Their combat pods were equipped with the latest streaming technology, their neural interfaces updated with new tactical overlays designed by gaming companies. "Remember, everyone," Emma broadcast to the global channel, "this is just like the bonus level. Let's show them why Earth's gaming community is still undefeated." The universe was about to learn a critical lesson. never challenge a planet of gamers to a space battle. They've been practicing their whole lives for this.